my list now that I think about it. We may have just found a common denominator. Anyway. Hello there, my lovelies. Welcome to another episode of Vlogmas Sitting Down with Soul Raider, whatever you want to call it. This is an unintentional episode 3. I had to combine days 2 and 3. I'm trying to shoot for a total of at least 12 this month around everything else going on. The Cheesecake Man and I were meant to go to our last visit at Anime Invasion, but I'm sick. I woke up multiple times throughout the night last night, and a good chunk of the day yesterday. I was sick, and we said, you know what, it's not worth it to go and try and see the Ghibli movie we were going to see today, knowing that there was a chance I was going to spend at least half of it in the bathroom. So we said we're going to stay home, save the money for the move anyway. Made more sense to do that. So Cody has been very, very much taking care of me today. I have not done much at all today myself, and it's 5:09 p.m. and I'm just now feeling up to recording this. So today I thought, instead of covering our trip down there to go see a Ghibli movie, why not talk about my 5 favorite Ghibli movies. I grew up in the 90s and was very grateful to have a lot of them play on Cartoon Network or Disney Channel a lot while I was a kid. So I've seen a lot of them multiple times, especially these 5 I'm going to talk about. In the number 5 slot, therefore, has to be Kiki's Delivery Service. I watched that movie on Disney Channel every day, every time it came on in the summer, every single summer. They would routinely play that and Labyrinth with David Bowie and Jennifer Connelly, you know, Goblin King Labyrinth, that Labyrinth. They would often play those 2 on the Disney Channel in the summers again and again and again, and I would watch those 2 ad nauseum. Love them, love them, love them. The other one I have on my list here, number 4, is going to be Princess Mononoke. And some of you are like, wait a minute, that's like one of the first huge hits that Ghibli had and Miyazaki-sama had worldwide. And I'm just like, yeah, but it was not the first one that I had seen. By the time I saw Princess Mononoke, I was 5th grade, 6th grade. I think I had seen Kiki either the summer before or after it. And I remember watching both of them around the same time and going, there's no way this is from the same set of producers, artists, writers, and so on. And when you set those 2 stories side by side, they tell extremely wildly different stories, but have a lot of similar messages, especially when you're comparing the journey that Kiki goes on to San's journey a little bit. You can see where, you know, girls finding their way in a world that is not meant for them at all. Well, I guess that kind of applies to most of Miyazaki's females on my list now that I think about it. We may have just found a common denominator. Anyway, San, to me, could easily have been an older version of Kiki. Depending, if you were to like put all of the Miyazaki movies on a timeline, I could see where San's story started as a Kiki story, and that's where she would end up. We know that's not really the character arcs at all, because San's wolf mother Maro says that her human parents threw San at her wolf mother's feet. So we know that's not true. Kiki grew up with a very loving set of biological parents who encouraged her to be whatever in similar ways to what Morrow did, to be fair. So, yeah, I could see where one becomes the other, though, in another story. Number 3, therefore, shouldn't be much of a surprise. I adore Spirited Away. Oh my. I think it's because, like most girls my age in the 90s, I had a really huge crush on the voice of Haku, Jason Marsden. I mean, he was one of the heartthrobs of the 90s. Go figure. But at the same time, in that movie, I think a lot of us related more to the secondary characters. Chihiro's story's very vibrant, and how she connects back to an old childhood friend in Haku is breathtakingly brilliant and well imagined. I mean, some of us authors are living that life where we have reconnected with our imaginary friends and whatnot from childhood by writing stories about them. True. So I guess I have that appreciation for the story, but the secondary characters in that movie drive the plot hard. I mean, I got to agree with Adam Savage from Mythbusters and the like on his thought process about No Face, just how cool that character is. If you ever get the chance to listen to his TED Talk on his love letter to cosplay, I think is what he calls it. Yeah, what he says about the interaction and the purpose of No Face, this character who just really wants to help the world, but accepting his help is bad luck. I'm like, oh my god, that Chihiro grew from helping No Face do that. And I'm just like, oh, Miyazaki, these projects you work with and endorse are amazing. And I think out of all of the ones on the list so far, that movie probably has taught me the most about the importance of developing not just your main character's arc. Because this is a conversation I had recently with a student of mine who is currently taking creative writing classes with me at my day job. And they were asking me, you know, I feel stuck. What do I do? And I said, okay, is your main character stuck? Are you as the author stuck? Or are you just not talking to the other characters in the cast and getting their feedback? And this young writer looked at me and said, wait a minute, they're not the point of view and control. Why does it matter? And I'm like, go watch Spirited Away. Go watch Spirited Away. That's all I had to say. Ignore what happens to the two or three main characters that you see in the majority of the scenes. Pay attention to the secondary characters that you see considerably less. And they were like, that was a good point. Because they feed into each other. So definitely putting that movie at number 3. Number 2 is a step up. Howl's Moving Castle is my definite favorite number 2. I'm not gonna lie, it's kind of a silly reason again. All of us enjoy listening to Christian Bale say, go away, a little too much. I'm not sure what came first, and I keep meaning to memorize this every time I look it up. I'm not sure if Hauru came first or Batman came first, but yeah, Christian Bale. Thank you. Fangirling moment over, I promise. Howl's Moving Castle, I love it as an anime, but if you've never read the book, you're welcome. Go find it. The book on which Miyazaki based this is priceless. It does tell a completely different story. Miyazaki's story or Studio Ghibli's story, I rather should say, to be more accurate, probably, focuses more on the post-war aspects and ending of war aspects intertwined with an overhyped love story. It does allow Sophie to be a super strong woman. I mean, Grandma Sophie's one of my favorite characters, and I was Sophie for Halloween for a reason with the long hair before it disappears. But at the same time, Miyazaki proved that you can still do justice by a piece while taking its core idea and making it your own. Do I think that Howl's Moving Castle was his fan art to a really good novel? Possibly. And to me, a lot of people who like the book and know it first over the animated movie are like, you know, blah, 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 tension, 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 butt heads. And I'm like, but he's one of the few people, if not the only people I know of, to have tackled that story in the first place. And I don't think he did it a bad reputation rap. If anything, I think he got more people interested in wanting to read the book by comparison, but that's just my point of view on the topic. And then, of course, some of you will not be shocked when I say this, because I've talked about this movie before. My number one favorite Studio Ghibli, actually it's not Studio Ghibli, I have to say Miyazaki, because I think this was the first one he did on his own, but before Ghibli was conceived. It would be Kaze no Tani no Nausicaa, or Nausicaa of the Valley of the Wind. Here in the States, we got a really badly ripped off dubbed version called Warriors of the Wind in the late 80s, early 90s, and that's how I originally encountered it. I can still quote the opening. Yeah, Nausicaa is just my favorite. I do like the redub that Pixar Studios had gotten with Disney to do, I guess say redo, but my childhood is all about that Warriors of the Wind version because I love Nausicaa. I love the full story, uncut, untouched, untainted with. But Zandra, the rename version for Warriors of the Wind, she's not a bad character either. There's a lot of similarities, and the changes that were made between the two movies indicate to me as an author, I need to be careful who I let touch my stuff. Now, let's get real. If Studio Ghibli showed up at my door tomorrow with an invite, I'm not turning it down. I ain't stupid. That would be amazing and once of a lifetime opportunity to have any kind of anime studio of that caliber to show up at my door and be like, yeah, we love your books. Can we animate them into a full series? Let me see the contract and we'll talk is probably what I should say. Not a hard yes. Let's get real. But I would heavily, thoroughly get into conversations for stuff like that. And yet I know from the very core early days of my anime-loving heart, because it's actually Nausicaa that was the very first, Warriors of the Wind, was the very first thing that I ever saw that was anime. Be it as it may, today's been full of distractions because of the zombie mode, sick, not feeling well. I do have 2 full weeks of work ahead of me before I can take off an extra long vacation. I'm taking an extra week of Christmas vacation from work is what I'm trying to say. So I'm on the hard countdown to the moving day. We do have 2 weeks as of this week. So things are going to be interesting. Our next video, since it is Vlogmas, let me go ahead and do the same thing I did today, but maybe we'll do Christmas movies. And then maybe in the episode about that, after that, I'll cover why I absolutely, positively miss Christmas choir concerts. You'll get another update on the Kickstarter and the move. So I have like the next couple of videos kind of figured out in my head. I'm going to try and hit that 12 video mark. We are 1/4 of the way there. This is video 3 of 12. So let's keep rocking it. But above all, my dears, take care of yourself because I know you're worth it. Bye.